The city glimmered beneath the penthouse windows like a sea of molten glass high above the chaos of traffic and people. The world seemed quieter, almost sterile. Lena stood by the floor-to-ceiling windows barefoot, her silk robe fluttering around her legs like a ghost. Behind her, Daniel poured scotch with surgical precision. He didn't ask if she wanted any. He never did anymore. "I've made up my mind," he said, voice smooth practiced. "Kids aren't part of the plan." Lena turned slowly. Her eyes were wide, unreadable. "What plan? Our plan," he replied, walking past her to sit on the leather sectional. "The one where we travel, grow the company, stay lean, children, complicate things. They anchor you. I can't afford anchors." Lena's arms folded around her chest as if protecting something. Her voice cracked. "We talked about this. You said if this story resonated with you, subscribe to the channel and like. Spread the word and tell us where you're watching from." That was before. He didn't look at her. "Back when things were simpler. Back when I didn't know how fast this would all scale. Lena, we're worth 8 figures now. I have press meetings, investor rounds. A baby doesn't fit into that." The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was heavy, thick with words she couldn't find. "Do you even hear yourself?" she finally asked. "You make it sound like a child is a liability." Daniel finally met her eyes. His were still unreadable. "That's because it is. To people like us, it is. To people like you," she corrected, a tremor in her voice. He exhaled through his nose. "Disappointed. Not angry, not even annoyed, just disappointed. Like a manager reviewing an underperforming employee." "You knew who I was when you married me," he said calmly. "I've always been clear about what drives me. This isn't personal, Lena. It's practical." She laughed. A dry, bitter sound. "We've been married 4 years, Daniel. And now, suddenly, you're too practical for the life we built together." He looked away toward the skyline. "It's not sudden. I've been thinking about this for months." The realization hit her like ice water. "So, you've just been waiting for the right moment to tell me I'm not part of your future." "I didn't say that." "You didn't have to." She walked across the room and sat down across from him, knees folded beneath her like she might shatter if she moved too quickly. The lamp between them hummed softly, casting gold across his face. He looked tired. "But not sorry. I would have given up the world to build a family with you," she said, voice low. "But you're giving me up to chase it." Daniel took a sip of scotch. "That's not fair." "No, but it's true." The pause stretched. "I'll have the lawyers draw up the terms," he said quietly. "Not as a threat, but as a formality. You'll be taken care of." Lena rose slowly. Her legs felt like water. She didn't cry. Not yet. Not in front of him. When she reached the hallway, she turned back once. He was still sitting, scotch in hand, already retreating into the comfort of detachment. Behind her, the lights of the city blinked like indifferent stars. And inside her, something stirred, unspoken, fragile, new. She touched her stomach gently. He hadn't asked. She hadn't told. Not yet. The silence in the penthouse the next morning was not peaceful. It was surgical, clean, removed. A body without a heartbeat. Lena walked into the kitchen barefoot on the cold marble tiles. At first, she thought the suitcase was hers. It sat beside the bar stools like an accusation. but the papers lying on the counter told a different story. A leather folder. Her name printed neatly in bold serif. Lena Hartley Kint, dissolution of marriage. Preliminary draft. She didn't reach for it right away. Instead, she stared at the initials embossed on the suitcase. DK, it was his. She opened the folder slowly. The legal language blurred behind her blinking eyes. Words like amicable separation, mutual agreement, non-contested. The ink hadn't even dried that he planned this days, maybe weeks ago. She walked into the bedroom where the sunlight slanted in like a silent witness. Daniel stood near the dresser, buttoning his shirt, calm as ever. His watch glinted in the light. You packed before even telling me. She said that. He didn't flinch. It seemed cleaner. Cleaner. He turned toward her, hands in his pockets. I didn't want to drag it out. You deserve clarity. She laughed. Sharp cracked. Is that what this is, clarity? You and I both know we've been drifting. You've been drifting. She snapped. I was here every night, every dinner, every conversation. Daniel's face stayed neutral. It was his gift. Emotional detachment disguised as maturity. I didn't want to hurt you, Lena. But you're strong. You'll be fine. That sentence felt like a guillotine. She stepped back. You say that like you're doing me a favor. I'm doing us both a favor. He reached for his blazer, slipping it on like armor. You're rewriting the story of us, she whispered, as if I was just some side quest you completed before the main mission. He paused at the door. That's not how I see it. But it's how you're acting. He didn't argue. Just looked at her one last time. You'll be fine, he repeated. Then he walked out, suitcase in hand, not bothering to close the door behind him. Lena stood there for minutes, maybe hours. The hum of the refrigerator, the click of the wall clock, small domestic sounds mocking the storm inside her. That night, she sat on the bathroom floor, legs folded under her, the plastic stick in her trembling hand. 2 pink lines, her breath caught, then held. She leaned her head against the cold tile wall, the test still glowing faintly in her fingers. You'll be fine, he'd said. He had no idea. She clutched the stick like it was a flare in the dark. Outside the bathroom, the penthouse was still and empty. But inside her, something had already begun. She didn't know what she would do or how, but one thing was now painfully, irrevocably clear. She was not alone. The IT was as if Lena Hartley Kent had evaporated. The woman once seen gracing charity galas and tech launch parties vanished from the social columns with the speed of a deleted post. One day she was a millionaire's wife in a sapphire gown. The next, nothing. Friends texted, then called. Her number rang but no one answered. The line stayed active for months, which only made it worse. Speculation bloomed like mold. Did you hear she checked into rehab in Arizona? No, she went overseas. Some silent retreat. My cousin swears she saw her in Venice. She's dead. I think she's dead. Daniel never responded to questions. Not publicly, not even in board meetings. When someone whispered her name in the hallway, his expression remained unmoved. We divorced amicably, he said once flatly. She needed space. That was all. But the truth wasn't in Arizona or Venice or a rehab center. T was in a quiet coastal town 4 hours from the city where the wind carried salt instead of sirens, and strangers didn't ask questions if you paid cash. Lena had found an old cottage nearly falling apart, perched on a bluff that overlooked the sea. The front steps creaked. The windows moaned, but it was hers, and it was far from him. Inside, the house smelled of baby powder and cinnamon toast point. 2 cribs had become 2 toddler beds, then 2 race car beds. The twins, now 5, ran barefoot through the garden, laughing with scraped knees and wild curls. Their names were Max and Eli. They had his eyes hazel but flecked with steel. Every morning, Lena made pancakes shaped like dinosaurs. Every night, she read the same story twice because Max liked the ending and Eli liked the beginning. She never spoke Daniel's name. The boys knew only Mama, no Dad, no questions. The town was quiet and kind. The grocer knew to bag the apples carefully. The librarian saved books about space because Eli loved planets. The doctor asked no questions when she brought in 2 boys with the last name Hartley. Some days Lena stared at the sea and wondered how much longer the silence would last. Once at the post office, she overheard 2 women talking about a billionaire's upcoming wedding. Daniel's name sliced through the air like a knife. She didn't flinch. But that night, after the boys were asleep, she sat alone on the porch clutching a wine glass with trembling fingers. She could have told him. She could have sent 1 letter, 1 photo, but she hadn't. He said children would ruin everything. So, she had taken them far away where they couldn't ruin him, only love her, and she had vanished by choice. Sometimes she wondered if Daniel ever thought about her, about them. But the wondering came less often now. Time, it seemed, could numb anything, even betrayal. Still, something lingered beneath. The numbness. A low constant ache. Not regret, not even anger, just waiting. And far away in the city, Daniel Kent stood at the center of a new spotlight, flashing his designer smile. The headlines now called him most eligible. He was preparing for something new. He had no idea what he'd left behind. And Lena, she wasn't done yet. The magazine rack stood beside the grocery store's checkout aisle like a row of silent judges. Lena reached for a carton of milk when a familiar face on glossy paper froze her hand midair. Power couple of the year. Daniel Kent and Avery Grant announced engagement. The photo was an elegant lie. Daniel in a charcoal suit flashing his corporate smile and Avery flawless golden laughing into his shoulder. Her engagement ring looked like it could blind someone in sunlight. Lena stared at the image for a full 10 seconds before realizing she hadn't breathed. A small tug on her sleeve broke the trance. "Mommy, I want the dinosaur gummies," Eli said, holding a box above his head. She blinked, tearing her eyes from the page. "Okay, baby. Put them in the cart." Max leaned over the basket edge and peered at the magazine. "Who's that guy?" Lena turned the cove.